Morning. How you doing? I'm doing pretty good. Tea order arrived. Cakes, tea cakes, various samples. What beauties, hot brandy. Lesser evil. Old reliable. And of course, brown sugar. I don't know, there has to be a Rolling Stones song playing when you hold that baby up for some reason. So that's all cool. So I was looking for a poem to read to you today, and there's this website. I feel very sentimental when I find websites like this, because essentially it's one of those old blogspot sites, and in fact it's tilting your heads up. Tilting our heads up is the name of the website. tiltingourheadsup.blogspot.com. And this, I always feel a real sentimental warmth and fondness when I find an old blog, particularly a blog that is still going. So this Tilting Our Heads Up, which is a poetry selection site. So the person who runs this, posts a poem every couple of days. This has been going since 2012. That kind of dedication, that kind of like, no, I'm going to stick to this. I've started the blog. I'm going to do it. I don't know. That to me, in terms of like a Myers-Briggs personality style, that speaks like of like an INFJ type person, and I really like INFJ type people. And this person, I think this person is Hungarian, because a lot of the poems there are in Hungarian. There's some Spanish poems. They're not all in English, but the English poems are fantastic. And it's really, really hard, actually, to curate, anthologize, if you like, poetry, because poetry can be so hit and miss, and also to find, those people who are selecting and then putting it out there. It's like any curation. It ultimately reflects their sensibility. And everyone's got a lovely sensibility, but not everyone's sensibility in a way chimes with yours. And whoever this person is, I don't know who they are, I feel like their sensibility really chimes with mine, in the sense that whatever they select, there's very few duds on here. Very often when I'm reading through people's poetry selections, or like on Twitter, I used to quite often follow people on Twitter. They'd post stuff and you'd be like, yeah, that's nice. But to feel like someone has read a poem and it's really spoken to them, it's really touched something inside of them, and then they post it, and then to be, I don't know, it feels like a really meaningful exchange in that way. So whoever this person is, their sensibility and my sensibility, I guess, must be relatively aligned, because I just really like all the poems that they put on there, and there's loads of them as well. So I think for the time being, I'm probably going to use a lot of the poems that have been posted by this person. Who knows? I might even get in contact with them and see if they want to do a T&E or something with poetry, because I don't know. That's my hypothesis. My hypothesis is that if I had to sit down with this person, whoever they are, and we were to do a T&E and bring in a couple of poems and talk about them, and talk about their tilting our heads up poetry curation, this ongoing museum, if you like, of poetry. It's ongoing space where this person has collected together the poems of their life, the poems that are that really make their soul sing. So they've kind of put their soul, as it were, online through this tilting our heads space. And what can I say? I like the soul that is singing from that spot. So this poem today comes from Tilting Our Heads Up. Let me just get it on my screen. There we go. And it's a poem by Charles Simic, who I think is an American poet, 20th century American poet, and it's called Stone. And I suppose the reason I chose this one today was, you know, thinking about you, knowing you're struggling at the moment with this Alzheimer's medication. And, you know, I mean, as I said yesterday to you on WhatsApp, you know, it is really like you're between a rock and a hard place, because I mean, the medication, okay, it's not going to eradicate Alzheimer's, that's not possible, but it gives you a certain clarity of thought, and it makes you feel more aligned to yourself. And that's all great, yay, medication. But then the medication itself makes you feel uncomfortable, dizzy, right? So your mind is a little bit clearer, but everything else that is your being, for want of a better word, is struggling. And how to cope with that? How to either cope with the struggle or cope with the befuddlement, confusion, panic, fear, emptiness, depression, all of those things that come from, you know, having this Alzheimer's diagnosis. And however that's going to manifest. And the poem itself is called Stone because I guess in a certain way, right, we all, you know, we all know what we need. We kind of need in these moments to be stoical. Stoical with with everything that suggests. You know, that ability to be present, be here now, to accept. You know, it's the good old serenity prayer is a very stoical prayer. You know, to accept the things we cannot change, to not fight the things we cannot change. The courage, the skill, the strategies, whatever it is, to change or tweak those things that we can a little bit. The wisdom to know the difference. That feels quite stoical. And that's cool when we're in a stoical place, but when we're not in a stoical place, things get the better of us. The stone, as it were, the stone that we're pushing up like Sisyphus up that hill every day, threatens to roll back over us, or whatever we're trying to push forwards feels too heavy to be pushed by our own arms and legs, which is why I guess we need poetry. We need this, the voice of the ancestors, the voice of the gods, the voice of Mother Nature speaking to us in some way. And I feel like this poem speaks to this. It speaks to what does it mean to be a stone, but not a stone as in shutting yourself off, but a stone as in existing in the world as resiliently as you possibly can, but without losing touch with yourself and with others. I think I need some more tea for this, actually. Whoa, I'm on my, like, I don't know, 5th infusion of these leaves. And I'm actually starting to get a little bit of a tea high, because you can get high off tea, and sometimes it's a different high depending on the tea. So this one's quite a nice high, and that's another reason also to buy a cake, because sometimes the high can be a bit jittery. This doesn't feel that way. It feels I could definitely feel a sort of a slightly altered perception. I can feel a kind of a sort of a rising energy in the chest, which makes me think, that'd be quite nice later on to go and then do some exercise. It sort of feels like this sister is kind of encouraging that. The wonders of tea, what can I say? Okay, here we go. Charles Simic's stone. Go inside a stone. That would be my way. Let somebody else become a dove, or gnash with a tiger's tooth. I am happy to be a stone. From the outside, the stone is a riddle. No one knows how to answer it. Yet within, it must be cool and quiet. Even though a cow steps on its full weight, even though a child throws it in a river, the stone sinks, slow, unperturbed to the river bottom, where the fishes come to knock on it and listen. I have seen sparks fly out when two stones are rubbed, so perhaps it is not dark inside after all. Perhaps there is a moon shining from somewhere, as though behind a hill. Just enough light to make out the strange writings, the star charts on the inner walls. To me, although this is talking about stones, it is really talking, of course, about the inner world. Whatever we mean when we talk about the inner world, when I close my eyes and I go inside. It is dark. There is no light. It is a place of feeling, of thought, of sensations, and fortunately, unfortunately, our minds are great at sorting everything that comes up into 3 categories, as we know: positive, neutral, and unpleasant. And I guess when someone says, "How you doing?" and we give them the true answer, the truth, as opposed to what we want them to hear, what we're really probably usually doing is we're giving a kind of a summation of those 3 different centers: head, heart, body, and also how they are being perceived at the moment, how they are falling into the positive, negative, neutral ratio. So, you know, again, close your eyes with me. If we go into headspace, in terms of the thoughts, I mean, to give you an example, right? I haven't done my tax returns yet. I know cutoff is, I always leave it to the last moment. I know cutoff is 31st of January. I've got, so that thought is in unpleasant, because I know that I have to do it. I've got the tension of not having done it. I've got a few other logistics, you know, life logistics that I've just been not doing because, you know, they need to be done, but I can get away with not doing them for another week, for another month. Some of them you can, of course, leave for years, but in the thought space, if you really go into that space, they prick us, they prod us, they nudge us, they worry us, and then there's the sort of the pleasant thoughts, you know, like, oh, I'm going to be doing. My next video for Idiotville is going to be on Synecdoche, New York, and that's going to be fun. I'm going to be able to sit and watch it and talk about it and da-da-da-da-da and blah, blah, blah. So you've got that. And then you've got, I don't know, just neutral, which is more like, okay, Dan's coming today at 2. I need to be ready to see him and work with him. And then I've got this person later and that person, and then you go into the heart space and you do the same, and then you do, and then of course the body, which is where you're very much at. You know, it's like, well, how do I feel? Yeah, I've got this ache, this pain, this tension, this stress, this, or sometimes the body feels relatively neutral. It's just like, yeah, it's okay, it's all fine. You can focus on head and heart. And other times there's an energy, there's a joy, there's a kind of the life force, if you like, is strong. And how to contain all of that? In some way, I find the image of a stone, or I find the image of holding all of this in mind as a stone. And instead of imagining that, because often I think for the mind, for the suffering mind feels assaulted by all the unpleasant stuff. The unpleasant thoughts are assaulting us, right? It's like somebody is standing outside the window and screaming at us and saying, you should do this, you've got to do this, you're crap, you're this, you're that, whatever. And the unpleasant emotions are hurting us. And the unpleasant sensations, it feels personal, those unpleasant sensations, right? You know, when I'm feeling like a kind of like anxiety, like, oh, like I haven't worked out, I haven't really given the body what it needs, and it's feeling that kind of tense, crabby, cramped. It's feeling a little bit like that today. It feels personal. It feels like it's against me, it's attacking me. But I don't want to be in conflict. I don't want to be in conflict with my body sensations, my emotions, and my thoughts. I mean, that is, I think, the ultimate inner work, if you want to call it that, right? How not to be in conflict with these things. How to hold them in awareness, you know? How to hold that physical sensation that I'm experiencing at the moment that I don't like, that feels invasive, that feels like it's got it in for me. It's like, fuck you. How to hold that. And I think there is something in the riddle of a stone that is suggestive of this? Actually, let me get a stone for us. Hang on a second. You know, last year I picked up a couple of stones, fairly generic kind of pieces of flint, although each of these, I spent quite a long time looking for these, like each of these has its own little character. So for me, this one, for example, I don't know if you can see, when you turn it a certain way, it really does look like a little man looking out. I don't know if you can see, there's the eye, there's the face. It's got a real character for me, this stone. I'm very fond of it. I'm very, very fond of it. And they all do. They all have, you know, you could say, well, what's that? Why did you pick that up off the ground and put it in your rucksack? Because it spoke to me. It spoke to me. Something also about the solidity of the stone, right? It's very real. It's very, very real. We live in a world where nothing is kind of real anymore. Certain things, certain things are real. You know, this one's almost like a heart, isn't it? This one. But let's go back to the poem. From the outside, the stone is a riddle. From the outside, the stone is a riddle. No one knows how to answer it, yet within, it must be cool and quiet. Even though a cow steps on its full weight, even though a child throws it in the river, the stone sinks slow, unperturbed to the river bottom, where the fishes come to knock on it and listen. Perhaps it's not dark inside after all. Perhaps there is a moon shining inside the stone. From somewhere, as though behind a hill, just enough light to make out the strange writings, the star charts on the inner walls. And there is something about holding a stone. Maybe not every stone. You need to find the right stone to hold. Maybe it's this one for me, because this one feels most personal because it's sort of got this face in it. Maybe that's what we need to do when we are requiring this conceptual stoicism that more often than not, when we're struggling, feels quite conceptual, like, oh yeah, you know, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. But maybe it's about, what is it about? Maybe it's about taking whatever is in here, all of that, and bringing it inside the stone. The solidity of the stone, because everything that is inside here is threatening us at any moment to defeat us, to kill us, to diminish us, to crush us, to suck the joy out of our lives. And so maybe we need a stone. Maybe we need a stone. And again, I think when we close our eyes, we go into this place of what the humans call meditation. I think it's an attempt to climb into a stone, and it's an attempt to somehow see the world and be in the world from in here, inside here, which is also inside here. There is something that is coterminous. The inside here and the inside here are not that different, is I think what Charles Simic is saying. And if we hold on to a stone, maybe we can hold on to something in ourselves that we feel is being knocked out or smashed out or pulled out or pressed out through our thoughts or jostled out through our emotions.